That drink in your hand right now. Hold it up for a second. Look at it. Whatever it is, beer, wine, something stronger, you probably grabbed it without thinking. End of the day, habit. Felt like the right move. But that thing in your hand is older than you can imagine. Not the glass, not the brand, the impulse, the actual biological pull toward that specific liquid. That is somewhere between 10 and 15 million years old. It was running through creatures that looked nothing like you, on a continent that looked nothing like it does now, long before your species existed at all. And by the time this video is over, you're going to look at that drink completely differently. Let's go back. Way back. Before farms, before cities, before language. There is a small primate on a forest floor in Africa, and it has just found something remarkable. A piece of fruit that fell from a tree and has been sitting in the sun for a few days. It smells different, stronger. Something has happened to it. That something is fermentation. Natural yeast got in, started breaking down the sugars, and produced ethanol. Low concentration, nothing dramatic, but enough to create a smell that cuts through the forest. And for this primate, that smell means one thing. Calories. Right there on the ground. Already ripe. Already ready. So it eats. And it feels something. Not drunk exactly, but something warm and loose and good. And it remembers. In 2014, biologist Robert Dudley at UC Berkeley published a book called The Drunken Monkey that laid out what he believed was actually happening in that moment. His argument was that our primate ancestors didn't just accidentally encounter fermented fruit. They evolved specifically to find it. The smell of ethanol became a biological signal. Follow this, food is here. Over millions of years, that signal got hardwired, and the genetic evidence backs him up completely. The enzyme your body is using right now to process that drink, ADH4, mutated into its current highly efficient form approximately 10 million years ago, right when our ancestors came down from the trees, right when fermented fruit on the ground became part of the regular diet. Your liver didn't develop this capability recently. It developed it before your species existed, before humans were even a concept. You didn't acquire a taste for alcohol. You were born with one. Your entire lineage was. So by the time actual humans showed up, thinking, talking, tool-making humans, the relationship with alcohol wasn't new. It was ancient, automatic, built in at the genetic level. The only question was when someone figured out how to make it deliberately instead of just finding it by accident. And the answer to that question is going to surprise you. In 2018, archaeologists excavating a cave called Rakafet near Haifa in Israel found stone mortars carved directly into the bedrock. Inside those mortars, residue, wheat and barley that had been deliberately soaked, germinated, and left to ferment. Deliberately, intentionally, with knowledge of what the process would produce. Beer, brewed in a cave, 13,000 years ago. Now here's what makes this extraordinary. These people, the Natufians, were not farmers. Agriculture didn't exist yet. They were hunting animals and collecting wild grain by hand. They had no permanent homes, no pottery, no written language. And yet somehow, in the middle of all that, brewing beer was important enough to figure out. They didn't grow the barley. They went and found it, carried it back to the cave. And then, before they built houses, before they planted crops, before they did almost anything else we associate with civilization, they made beer. Take another sip and let that sit, because it gets better. Around the same time, something was happening in southeastern Turkey that still makes archaeologists uncomfortable. At a site called Göbekli Tepe, hunter-gatherers were moving stone pillars weighing up to 10 tons into precise circular formations, carving them with animals and symbols, building something enormous and deliberate. These were still nomadic people. No farms, no permanent settlements, nothing that should have produced the kind of organized labor this required. For years, nobody could explain why they built it. Then they found the vats, large stone vessels, right there on the site, tested, confirmed, fermented grain, People weren't just passing through Göbekli Tepe, they were gathering there specifically, traveling from across the region, coming together around what the archaeological evidence increasingly suggests was one primary purpose: to drink together. And this is where the story gets genuinely uncomfortable for everything we thought we knew about human history. Because the standard version goes like this: humans got hungry, started farming, built villages, developed civilization, and somewhere along the way, discovered fermentation and started making alcohol. Alcohol came after everything else. But Rakafet Cave and Göbekli Tepe say the opposite. Patrick McGovern, the world's leading archaeologist on ancient alcohol, based at the University of Pennsylvania, has spent decades making a case that turns the standard version completely upside down. Humans didn't start farming to make bread. They started farming to make beer. And his evidence is hard to argue with. Bread requires grinding, kneading, baking. It is genuinely laborious. Fermentation requires soaking grain in water and waiting. It happens by itself. And the archaeological record consistently shows fermented beverages appearing before bread, before pottery, before almost everything. There is a real possibility that everything, settlements, agriculture, cities, writing, the entire trajectory of human civilization, started because humans wanted a reliable supply of alcohol and decided to build a world that could provide it. Have another sip. You're basically funding the continuation of a 13,000-year-old project. By the time ancient Egypt arrived, alcohol wasn't a luxury. It was how society functioned. Workers building the pyramids received 4 to 5 liters of beer per day as wages, not coins, beer. Because Nile water was contaminated and frequently deadly. Beer, through the brewing process, was safer. It had calories, nutrients. For someone dragging limestone blocks through desert heat all day, it was simultaneously their paycheck, their lunch, and the thing keeping them alive. One liquid, doing the job of a salary, a water filter, a meal, and a medicine. From the same cup. So look at that drink again. 10 million years ago, your ancestors evolved the biological wiring to seek out fermented fruit because they couldn't afford to ignore those calories. 13,000 years ago, humans were deliberately brewing before they knew how to farm. 12,000 years ago, they may have built the first monumental structure in human history, specifically to have somewhere to drink together. 9,000 years ago, they had blended recipes. 5,000 years ago, entire civilizations were running on it. This is not a vice humans developed somewhere along the way. This is one of the oldest continuous threads in human experience. The same impulse that brought a primate down from a tree toward a piece of overripe fruit on the ground is the same one that put that drink in your hand tonight. The cups got fancier. The process got industrialized. Someone figured out how to make it 10 times stronger and charge you for it. But the pull, that's 10 million years old, and it was never really about the alcohol. It was about coming together. Around a fire, around a cave, around a 10-ton stone monument in the middle of Turkey, around whatever you're watching this on right now. Humans have always found a reason to drink together. You're just the latest ones doing it.